going to try to get him back, and right here he will. Oh, Greg!
Kelly answers, a crazy one, the number one. He is your leader. A sitting duck. Here he comes. What a shot.
Quick intro to this next video before my wife comes home and I look like a huge dork. This next thing I'm going to teach you is about building a hybrid 10-bolt, 12-bolt rear end. Now, just putting this in there so you know, this is a little more than basic mechanics. So if you're a newbie, watch it for fun, but realize it's a little more complicated. There's setting up the ring and pin and all sorts of bloning. I'm not going to really get into because the way I do it is technically way wrong, and I wouldn't want anybody doing this on their street car and, you know, locking up the rear wheels, going down the freeway and injuring somebody. Now, the second thing, you're going to see my dirty backyard. I'm going to explain to you why derby guys have dirty backyards. Research. All this I'm about to teach you has only been learned by collecting garbage, measuring different things, and seeing what will fit in what and whatnot. So, next time you look at a thing, you're like, man, that guy's yard is dirty. Maybe it's research. See ya. Howdy there. We're starting to build a hybrid GM 10-bolt / 12-bolt rear end. But I thought I'd show you a trick here. I had to cut this one with a torch, but normally you don't want to get crazy with your welds when you're locking up a diff. For the simple fact that if you should break an axle and mess up these spider gears, instead of throwing the whole rear end away, this one's I've already cut, but normally I don't weld it crazy because I've done this before, but I did in a hurry, wasn't even going to film it for you. You can simply spin this sucker around, give it a whack with a hammer so it'll spin easier. There we go. You spin the sucker around. You can just take a die grinder, or if you want to, they're no good. These are no good, I might just torch them. But I have taken and sliced it here on both sides. Then you rotate one the other way, and you can just pull that spider gear out of there, which I had to do on the last 12-bolt when I broke an axle. Basically all I did was, on that one, same thing. I ended up using spider gears. I ended up slicing and pull the pieces out and putting brand new pieces in. It's one of the reasons you never want to weld in your... Some people make the mistake of welding this in too with the spider gears. Well, then you can't take it apart. As you can see, if you do it this way, of course it always sticks. You can take it back apart and change your gears and put in new axles and keep going. Thought I'd show you that real quick, and once I get the rest of the parts for the hybrid rear end, I'll show you how that's done. Okay, and there's the finished product. The gears are out of there, and the housing or the carrier is empty. I'll show you the tricky part of how to get 12-bolt 31 spline axles in a 10.5 27 spline carrier. It's a bit tricky. Brand new 373s to go in there. Now, I got 3 axles here. We'll start with 27 spline bolt-in axles. Just slide this a little closer so you can tell the difference. There's the flange and the busted bearing. Don't buy the AutoZone bearings, by the way. They just fall apart. And there's the OEM bearing on the 12-bolt 31 spline axle. If you notice, quite a bit difference in the size of the spider gear. Now, you have 2 options, both difficult. You can grind this down so you can slide it into the carrier, but then the second problem is turn it over. There's a slight size difference. This is smaller than that, so getting it in the carrier, you'd have to grind this down, file it down, whatever, till it fit in the carrier. Difficult, doable. Now, there's another way to do it. It's even a little more difficult. It requires you to locate what some people refer to as a Buick rear end, or it's an oddball rear end. There's the carrier out of it. It's basically a 10-bolt housing that's larger, because if you look at the carrier, which is sitting over here, it has 10 bolts. But the ring and pinion in it is a 12-bolt. And now, that's what this axle's after. I got a backup one I'm using. It's actually still in the car. This, of course, is a C-clip axle. But if you notice something here, oddly enough, the spider gear is the same size as the regular 10.5 bolt 27 spline spider gear, which there's one axle with the 12 bolt spider gear on it. Here's the other axle. Whoop, it's right on. Now, you're like, well, it's going to be difficult for me to find one of those oddball 10 bolt, 12 bolt rear ends, which, yes, it is. Gets even better. I've had two. The first one I broke was out of a 72 Caprice. The second one's out of a 73 Caprice. Spider gears are the same. Axles look the same. The splines are slightly off, and they will not work. I was lucky that these actually fit these axles. I don't have any other axles. I saved these to go with these axles in case I just broke an axle shaft and didn't have a spare. I was going to go through all the trouble changing out the spider gears and all that just so I could change the broken axle to the newer axles. But there you go. Now if you take this over to the 10.5 bolt housing, got a pin in the way. Oop, goes right in, no problem. Just gotta use all the spider gears, the whole set, and then just put it back together like you normally would, and then weld it up. Yeah, I know the purists are saying, well, this is smaller, so it means it's weaker. Well, you're welding it anyways, so it doesn't matter because it's no longer going to turn and be a problem. But yeah, the bigger gear would be stronger. Now, these rear ends, a bit difficult to locate or identify too, because here's where people are going to be like, no, that's not a 12 bolt, it's a 10 bolt. If you count these real quick, you move it out so you can see it. If you count that, you're going to come up with 10 bolt holes. Come over here, this is one off the 8.5. If you sit there and count that, you're also going to come up with 10 bolt holes. Now, if I flip these over and try and put this one on top of that one, oh, the bolt should light up, right? It should be the same exact size, right? Well, let me line up one bolt here, which is, of course, difficult with one hand. Plus, I'm way off. There's one bolt hole. Look how far off we are there. The housing cover looks exactly the same, but it ain't. It's longer, more along the lines of the size of a 12 bolt. Which, yes, a 12 bolt, true 12 bolt rear end will have 12 bolts on the rear end cover. I have one out there I could show you, except for I'm missing the cover. Must have thrown it away. Don't really matter, I just used it for the axles. But there you go. That's how you build your 10 bolt, 12 bolt hybrid axles. Assembly. Anybody want a cat? It's a nice cat. I don't think I can mail it though, so you have to live in Arizona.